What's up you guys, and today's question is how to protect yourself from hyperinflation, because with all this money printing that's happening right now, a lot of people are afraid of hyperinflation. Okay, so the point of this video is to show you how to prepare, how to protect yourself from hyperinflation. It's just to make you thinking what actions you can take that can protect you from hyperinflation. Okay, it's going to be in 4 key points. So the first key point is try to put yourself close to the raw materials, to land, to anything that could be transformed, like lumber. Okay, if you look at it, lumber, you need to have land, you need somebody that comes over, cuts down a tree, it goes through a process, you transform it into 2x4s, 4x4s, 2x6, and then it goes into storage, and then you buy the final product at your store. So when you look at it, there's a lot of added value that goes through the process of just taking lumber and selling it. So if you can get closer to the lumber, then hyperinflation will have less of an impact on you, because what you will do essentially is you will cut your own trees down, you will buy the machinery to cut it, to make it, and you'll learn how to process, so you'll get it at a lot cheaper price. So it's the same with everything. If you can get closer to land, transform it, sell it, you have lumber or anything, you can protect yourself from hyperinflation. It's an easier way to protect yourself. The same thing with agriculture, forest, oil, commodities. Okay. The second thing, the second key point I want to be talking about is all service in high demand will increase quickly. Okay. Like the maintenance on your car, that's an essential service that you need. It's going to be in high demand because if people need it, they'll pay a lot more for the service. So if you can learn how to do maintenance on your cars, oil change, construction on your house, this will have a lot of value, because right now it's costing you about $120 an hour, $65 for construction, and if there's high inflation or hyperinflation, this is going to go a lot higher. So if you learn how to transform your time into value, then you can protect yourself from hyperinflation, because all the value that you learn, you essentially can transform it. You can do your own house, you could do your own floors, you could buy your own product, you can shop around, find for the best product. So all of this decreases the impact of hyperinflation. When you learn something, when you transform, when you look at doing the oil change, it takes 15 minutes to do your oil change, and you save about $30 to $40. So you multiply that by 4, that's a lot of value in a little bit of time that you can transform your time into value, and you can protect yourself from hyperinflation. Okay. The third key point, inflation devalues the value of currency. Okay, this is something that a lot of wealthy people utilize. They use debt to get richer, because if you're saving money, then that currency is being devalued at a very fast rate. But if you're investing and you're using debt, it's the same thing. If you can have long-term fixed debts, you could use that debt and use inflation to pay it off. Okay, but make sure that interests are lower than inflation. If inflation is at 5%, 10%, make sure that your interest cost is lower. And when we're talking about hyperinflation, if you have long-term fixed asset debts, well, think about it. If you are paying 3% and we go into hyperinflation, well, hyperinflation destroys the value of the currency by like 50% a month. Okay, that's the worst case scenario. Like when you think about it, if you have $300,000 in the bank, what's going to happen? It goes from 300 to 150 in 1 month, the value of that money, and then it goes down to 75, then it goes down to 37.5 thousand in purchasing power. Okay, that's what hyperinflation does. So how to protect yourself? Well, you go on the other side and you use debt, and that inflation will devalue the value of that long-term debt. Okay, so for key point, invest in hard assets. Invest in real estate. Invest in gold and silver. Invest in land and commodities. Okay. The only thing you need to be careful with gold and silver right now, there's a huge premium when you want to buy it. there's not a lot of people that are selling it, and if they're selling it with a huge premium. You need insurance sometimes to store that gold. So if you have it at home or whatever, maybe put some insurance. There's a lot of companies that insure like for $50,000 of assets that you own in your house. So gold, silver, land, commodities, and real estate, in my opinions, are the best to invest in when hyperinflation hits, or even high inflation that hits, okay? So how to protect yourself from hyperinflation, we'll go over the video again. 4 key points. Try to be close to the raw material. The closer you are, so when you're buying in a storage, or if you're buying directly from the company that cuts down the wood, you're going to pay a lot less for that product, which will reduce the impact of hyperinflation. Okay, get closer to the raw materials: land, agriculture, forest, and oil. The second key point: all services in high demand will increase drastically. Okay, if your salary is going lower, or something's happening to your sector where it's not following the other sectors, I would recommend maybe looking at why it's happening. Maybe there's a trend going towards something else. Okay, because you don't want to be in a dying sector. If you're in, I don't know, if you're a trucker maybe, and now with all the new self-driving cars technology, it's only a matter of time before everything is self-driven. So that might be a sector that will die. So it's worth taking into consideration. Okay, third, or to start preparing for a new shift. Third key point is inflation devalues the value of currency. In my opinion, this is why the wealthy becomes wealthy, because they know how to use debt as money. They buy assets in the long term, because when you buy assets in the long term, the cost of that interest is going to be very, very low, like 3%, 2%, depending on your credit. But usually when you're an investor, you're good with money, and you know how to borrow money, and you know how to have a good credit, okay? So if inflation is very low and you could borrow for a long-term rate, do it. Fix it, buy that asset, make sure cash flow, okay? Don't go into debt if you're not able to pay off that debt. That wouldn't make sense. Even if inflation eats away the value of that debt, your credit is going to deteriorate, and what's going to happen is that the cost of interest is going to be a lot higher than inflation. That would be not really favorable for you guys. Fourth key point: invest in hard assets. Invest in real estate. Why real estate? Because you can have access to that low cost interest, and usually inflation goes up, makes the value of real estate go higher compared to the dollar. Gold and silver, when there is instability in the market, what happens is that gold and silver is going to increase in value because it's a safe haven. People want something that's safe. People want to make sure they're not into something that could go bad or whatever. And that's why, with all the social tensions going on right now, people are going to start hoarding gold and silver. The same thing with land. If you could buy a land, big piece of land, you could do a lot of things. You could do your own chalet on it. You could do your own house. You could grow food on it. You could cut down your own trees. You'll have access to a lot of resources, water, fish, whatever. The more resources you have on that land, the more valuable it's going to be. And if it's isolated, if something bad happens in the world and you're isolated, you have your own piece of land, you'll feel secure, okay? The same thing with commodities. Commodities, if you're close to oil, you have a lot of gas at home or a lot of oil, and if something bad happens, you have access, and that's going to gain a lot of value, okay? So if you like this kind of information, like, subscribe, and I'll be seeing you on the next video. Thank you.